You know, for over 25 years, one of the biggest, most controversial artists on the planet has been defined by a war. But not with his critics or the music industry, a war with himself. And now, it looks like he's trying to end it once and for all. So this is the big question Eminem dropped on the world. It was a whole crime show-style teaser for his latest album. And yeah, it's a marketing gimmick for sure. But it's also the perfect way to frame this career-long psychological battle that has defined everything about him, his music, his fame, and his entire legacy.
Because look, to really get Eminem, you have to understand that this isn't just about one guy. It's about the constant battle between the man he actually is and the monster he created.
Okay, so to really unpack this whole thing, we first got to understand who the characters in this war are. His entire career, really, has been built around two totally distinct, warring personalities. So on one side, you've got Marshall Mathers. That's the real person, right? He's the father, the serious artist who gets introspective, the guy who channels all his pain and struggles into his lyrics. And then you've got the other side, his chaotic, provocative, and just completely anarchic alter ego, Slim Shady.
Man, this quote from Time magazine back in 2002 just absolutely nails it. Slim Shady wasn't just some funny character with bleached blonde hair, no way. He was a psychological release valve, a nightmare projection of all the anger, all the dark humor that was brewing inside Marshall Mathers. And here's the thing you have to understand. This chaotic alter ego wasn't just some sideshow act. Slim Shady was the absolute engine that launched him into the stratosphere.
When Eminem introduced the world to Slim Shady back in 1999, the result was, well, it was immediate and it was explosive. The Slim Shady LP sold over 14 million copies around the world. It literally turned a struggling Detroit rapper into a global superstar almost overnight. And this right here, this is the secret sauce. This is why it all worked. Even with all the cartoonish violence and the super shocking lyrics, the music connected with people because it was all rooted in the very real pain of Marshall Mathers. On tracks like Rock Bottom, he put his real-life insecurities and frustrations right out there for everyone to see, and that made him relatable to millions. So this massive buildup of fame, all fueled by Slim Shady, it was all about to hit an absolute boiling point. By the early 2000s, what he was doing was sparking major debates all around the globe. You could argue that 2002 was the absolute peak of Mount Eminem. The Eminem Show became his best-selling album ever, and the movie 8 Mile, which was kind of his life story, turned him into a legitimate movie star. He wasn't just a rapper anymore, he was a full-blown cultural force. And when you have that level of influence, your art gets put under a microscope. Suddenly, institutions and even governments are forced to grapple with your message. A perfect example of this actually happened all the way over in New Zealand. So check this out. This table breaks down the official debate they had over the movie 8 Mile, and it just perfectly captures the whole controversy. You had the distributor on one side arguing, hey, this is an inspirational story, and then you had the classification office on the other side worried that it could actually cause injury to the public good if young people saw it. So what happened? Well, in the end, after a whole appeal process, the rating got lowered from a restriction for 16 and over down to 13 and over. So, it was a win for the film, sure, but the debate itself really showed just how powerful and controversial Eminem's storytelling had become. But, you know, when you fly that high, the fall can be brutal. After hitting those unbelievable heights, the same internal chaos that fueled his art started to just consume the artist. This next period of his life was all about creative decline, a serious battle with addiction and a long, hard fight to get back. This timeline really lays out the turbulence. First, you get the 2004 album Encore, which a lot of people saw as a big misstep. Then, nothing. A 5-year hiatus where he was battling a severe drug addiction. He finally comes back with Relapse, an album that just dove right back into his demons, only to follow it up just a year later with Recovery, a project that was a conscious rejection of all that same darkness. And this analysis from Psychology Today just frames it perfectly. Recovery wasn't just a musical comeback. It was presented as a mental health comeback. It was the sound of Marshall Mathers trying to wrestle back control from the chaos of Slim Shady and from his own addictions. And that long, winding road brings us right here, to 2024, and to what's being set up as the final, decisive battle in this 25-year-long internal war. I mean, just look at how this new album, The Death of Slim Shady, is built. It's designed from the ground up to be a conclusion. It was announced with a fake obituary. He's using voice filters to bring back that classic early 2000s Slim Shady sound. And with a track called Guilty Conscience 2, he's directly calling back to one of the most famous battles between his two personas from his very first major album. But here's the thing. Killing off your most famous creation? It's not so simple. The album was met with a really divided critical reception, landing right in that mixed or average zone on Metacritic. For every critic who loved the concept, there was another who found it kind of tired or joyless. It suggests that maybe this final act wasn't the clean kill he was hoping for.
And that really leaves us with this central question, doesn't it? After you've built an entire legacy on this internal conflict, is it even possible to just end it? Is Slim Shady a character that can actually be killed off, or is he a part of Marshall Mathers that can never be separated? That's the legacy Eminem is grappling with, right now in front of the whole world.